Using the Calculate field tools in ArcGIS Pro by Sarah Smith-Tripp. Today we'll be introducing the Calculate field tool, which exists in two different locations in ArcGIS Pro. For this video, you'll want a shapefile as well as a raster file if you want to work through all of the examples. And we'll be introducing some basic knowledge of the Python language. The Calculate field tool calculates the values of a field for a feature class, feature layer, or raster. It cannot work directly with CSV or other SCII files unless they're imported into the GeoDatabase. For rasters, you must build an attribute table before using the field calculator. So here I have loaded the Vancouver DEM, which is a one-band raster. Because it's one band, we're able to use and build an attribute table for the file. So I'm going to go to Analysis, Tools. I'm going to search Build Attribute. And then I will select my DEM and I'll click Run. And that will take some time to run an attribute table. Now when I right-click on my raster, I see that I have an attribute table loaded in, and I can open that. And that is a value for each of the pixels in this raster. From there, I can use Field Calculator, but we won't be working with this raster during this video. To use the Field Calculator and the Calculate Fields functions, they're located in two different places. One, we can go to right-click, go to Attribute Table, and then we can go to Table, and then go to Calculate Field. This is one example. Now, if we're calculating multiple fields, we instead have to go to Geoprocessing and Calculate Fields. So we can go over here, and we'll see the Calculate Field function pops up here. This gives us the same fields as the Calculate field function, but it also allows us to calculate multiple fields or use a code block. And we'll go over all of this. For now, let's use the Calculate field function because we'll only be working with calculating one field at a time. Let's run through our first example of using the Calculate field function. I'm going to define a new field name. And then I'm going to select the field that I would like to modify. And in this case, I'm going to modify remarks. And here I'm going to run a function called replace. So I'm going to say .replace, which is a Python syntax. And then I'm going to say tree with canopy. Now this will take all instances of tree and replace it with the word canopy. I can click OK. And here I can see my new field, which says Canopy Strata. If I scroll over to the Remarks field, you'll see that here it says Tree Strata. So that's just one example of working with your field calculator. Field Calculator is also very helpful for introducing and calculating geometry attributes. So I can use the geoprocessing window to make a new field, and I'm going to call this field area_2. Here I'm going to just place the words shape.area and click Run. And this will calculate the area of each field ID, each unique field ID. And this is calculated relevant to the projection of the actual shapefile. You can also calculate things like the line length, a bearing, a number of parts, vertical or curvature, the x and y coordinates, the center of the polygon, and the boundary. I would also like to note that you can calculate geometry attributes as well to calculate these things. Now, the difference between calculate field and calculate geometry attributes is that you already need to have a field present to be able to calculate with. So in this case, if I was interested in calculating the center of the polygon, I would have to have an X and Y field for those center of polygons. We can use the calculate field function to also write our own code blocks and our own functions to apply to fields. In this case, I'm going to use height, which I'm going to reclassify into 3 unique types. Now, note that I've put in the expression type as Python. You can also use Arcade or SQL, but if you're working with a code block, you have to use Python. In addition, we've been using Python in past examples in this video. Here I have written a function which I'm going to apply to my field. In this function, I've named it height class, and I'm going to apply it to an item called height. But this can be any type of field. And I say if height is greater than or equal to, less than or equal to 1, return 1. Else if height is between 7 and 20, here, return 2. Finally, else if it's none of those things, return 3. I then go to my expression and I say call this function, which I've defined in my code block, and apply it to this field. I can then click OK. And now I see that I have this height class field. And I can color by these unique values. And here we have the height classes for Pacific Spirit. When working with new Python expressions, you might find it useful to find examples online. It's well documented both on ArcGIS by Esri, as well as in things like Stack Exchange, etc., etc. Thank you so much for watching our video covering how to use the calculate field function. If you have any questions, please reach out following the details below.